In my 60 years on this planet, I cannot ever remember Rosh Hashanah coming into such a season of deep discontent. There is the discontent of Afghanistan. This coming Shabbos is 9/11. This coming Shabbos is the 20-year anniversary of 9/11. And after 20 years of war, the Taliban is back in power and America is filled with such self-doubt. There's the discontent of all this natural disaster that has just pummeled so many people all over the planet. Most recently, Hurricane Ida. This came home to me before Yontif. I called my brother Mark, who lives in Teaneck, New Jersey. Teaneck is in Bergen County. And I asked him how he was, and he said, who could ever believe that mi vamayim in unatana tokef? Who's going to die by water? Who's going to die by water? Who's going to die by a flooded basement? Would happen in Bergen County in 2021. There is the discontent, of course, of the Delta variant raging, and there is the discontent of civil society declining. We've all read about, many of us have experienced, the uptick in mean-spiritedness. The uptick in mean-spiritedness of fellow citizens on airplanes and restaurants. And here's the thing. All of this discontent is ongoing, and none of this discontent has been the least bit resolved. And it's just then, into that hot mess of our real world, that Rosh Hashanah comes with its sweet greeting, Shana Tova Umetuka. I wish you a good and sweet new year. Pass the apples and the honey, a sweet new year. Pass the challah and the honey, a sweet new year. So here's my question. Tell me, how do we connect the hope of a new year with all of the inertia and the messes of the old year? So I want to tell you a story. One day, a guy comes to Temple Emmanuel who is himself a veteran. He has fought for years in Afghanistan. He was a Navy SEAL. And when his military term is over, when his years of service as a Navy SEAL are over, he's beginning now the civilian chapter of his life. And he finds a woman, fall in love, they get married. And they're blessed to have 3 adorable daughters. And he's brilliant. He earns an MD, he earns an MBA. He's an entrepreneur. He starts a business in healthcare, and it's super thriving. And he is drawn to the study of Judaism. He wants to learn about Judaism. He wants to begin to live a Jewish life. He wants his daughters and his wife to live a Jewish life. And eventually, he wants to convert. And he wants his daughters to convert to Judaism after he lives it and loves it and learns it and embodies it. So, before the pandemic, he and his wife and daughters would come to Shabbat Alive all the time. And then when the pandemic happened, they live in New Hampshire. So he and his wife would have a date night every Wednesday night. He told me not once over the course of the year did they ever miss this date night. They both took this class, the Jewish Discovery Institute class, a class of Intro to Judaism, taught by Rabbi Leslie Gordon, and she's fabulous. The class is fabulous. He told me they both did all the reading. They both discussed it all week. They both lived for the next class. That's what they did during the pandemic. Roll the film forward, and it's August, just last month. And Michelle and Eliza and I drive 2.5 hours, the three of us, to New Hampshire. They have a home, and the home abuts a lake. And on this propitious day, this former Navy SEAL and his 3 daughters are going to immerse in the waters of their lake, and they're going to emerge, and they're going to affirm their desire to live as Jews. And Michelle, Eliza, and I are the Beit Din, the tribunal, and they invite a wide circle of friends to be present. So we go to the house, we go to the lake, they do the immersions. They emerge from the immersions. They affirm their desire to want to live as Jews. And they dry off. And they regather away from the lake. And as is our practice, we invited all the many friends there to form a circle and asked everyone there to share words of blessing from the heart. So the whole day was just so emotional. What everybody said was so poignant and beautiful. But I'll never forget what one guy in particular had to say. First of all, he was very, very, very big. And he was very, very, very strong and burly. He looked like the security detail. He looked like an active duty Navy SEAL. And we should, of course, never judge anybody by appearance, but I did. And looking at what a formidable physical presence he was, I was not really expecting beautiful spiritual words. But was I ever wrong? This big, burly guy turns to the father and daughters when it's his time to speak. And he says to them, there is one book in the Hebrew Bible that speaks most powerfully to this moment. It's the Book of Esther. And here's why, this guy says. The Book of Esther is the one book where God does not appear. There's no Adonai in the Book of Esther. There's no Elohim in the Book of Esther. But you know what it is in the Book of Esther? Plenty of darkness in the Book of Esther. Lots of danger in the Book of Esther. Lots of tempest in the Book of Esther. Lots of tumult in the Book of Esther. So now we got this problem. There's no God, no Adonai, no Elohim in the Book of Esther, but there is darkness, and there is danger, and there is tumult, and there is tempestuousness in the Book of Esther. But what there also is in the Book of Esther is Mordechai and Esther in the Book of Esther. There is also human agency in the Book of Esther. And they do what they do, and they save their people. And then this man says something. I'll never forget this phrase. I never heard this phrase. In all my life, I never heard this phrase before, and now I'll never forget this phrase. He says, looking at what Mordechai and Esther did in a godless world where there's a lot of darkness and danger, can't we just see the fingerprints of God? And then he turns to this father and he turns to his 3 daughters and he says, this is your Book of Esther moment. You did this. You chose to become Jewish. You took the class. You did the immersions. You brought us all together. And now that you have done that, can't we just see the fingerprints of God? Now, this man's blessing to this family feels like our charge now. There's no God in the book of Esther, and to be honest with you, on Rosh Hashanah, I want to tell you, it feels very hard to find God in our world. Darkness and danger, check. Tumult, check. Tempest, check. Hard to find God in a lost 20-year war. Hard to find God when so many innocent lives are taken and so much property is destroyed and so many cities and so many lives and so many communities so all over the planet are upturned and for no power, no food, no water, like, oh my God. That happens so commonly. It's as common as a traffic jam. That some life, some city, some community is just overturned by nature's wrath. Hard to find God. In that, hard to find God. In the Delta variant, hard to find God in the collapse of our civil society. And that's when the book of Esther speaks to us now. And it says, if you can't look to God, look to the person in the mirror. What are you going to do? Mordechai's question to Esther is our question now. Who knows if it wasn't for just such a moment as this, that you are here now. It's on us. It's on us. It's on us. It's on us. Who knows if it wasn't for just such a moment as this, that you are here now. Now, what can I do? What can we do? The problems are so big. We're so small. What can I do? What can we do? So here's the answer of the book of Esther. 100%. Not 98 and not 99, but 100% of us here today can do something really important and really helpful. And it is to create a counter world of decency, a counter world of kindness. We cannot alter what happened in Afghanistan, but we can warmly welcome Afghan refugees into Greater Boston when they come, and they will be coming, and we can create a counter world of welcome. We cannot stop global warming. We cannot stop glaciers from melting. We cannot stop seas from heating up. But we can make responsible choices in our own lives. I have a very dear friend who's a carnivore. Her favorite thing to eat in the world is steak, and she's given up steak because she doesn't think it's a proper environmental choice. We can create a counter world of responsible environmental stewardship. We cannot stop the mental health and emotional health challenges that persist as the pandemic persists, the blah, the meh, the languishing. We can't stop that. But we can create a counterworld like this. This is a counterworld to the world. This is a counterworld to the world. These light bulbs are a counterworld to the world. Your being here, masked, is a counterworld to the world. The song, the prayers, the light, the love. It's a counterworld to the world, and we do that every day. We cannot stop the sense that disorder is running rampant. Read any paper, whatever source you get your news, disorder is running rampant. We can't stop that. But we can create a counter world of order, where anybody and everybody and 100% of the people who come to this place, 100% of the people who come to 385 Ward Street feel seen and valued and heard and loved. We can create a counterworld of human dignity. And who knows? Who even knows? If it wasn't for just such a moment as this, ongoing discontent, that you are here now. Which brings us back to the question of, why did this Navy SEAL want to convert in the first place? Right? The $64,000 question. So Michelle and Eliza and I are talking to him, and we say that. Why? And here's what he says. He says, when he got back from Afghanistan, when he was done with the Navy SEALs, he met a person who became a mentor to him. This person was such a mensch, honest, ethical, hardworking, strong, resilient, very idealistic, very willing to do service in service of his idealism. And this mentor was very, very Jewish, had deep Jewish values. And this former Navy SEAL guy said, I realized that the things that I admire most about this mentor come from his deep commitment to Jewish values. And I thought to myself, I'll have what he's having. If he can become such a mensch because he's so Jewish, that's what I want to be. And more important, that's what I want our daughters to be. Who knows if it wasn't for just such a moment as this, that the mentor and the Navy SEAL came together. And can't you just see the fingerprints of God? What counter world of decency and kindness will you create in this new year? Who knows? Who knows if it's not for just such a moment as this that you are